Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you a first-time beginner project, and this is known as the Shaggy Loop chain. You can see I've used a toggle clasp on the end, and these are just little pewter beads on either side. This is how the kit comes, just plain with these basic rings to go on either side. This is the simplest form of making a Shaggy Loop chain. Now you notice that after I was finished with my copper one, I dressed it up a little bit, and you were certainly welcome to do that. I just add some little shrink pieces and some little wire wrapped flowers to it to add a little bit of personality to it. So you can certainly do that, or you can just leave it plain. And this is what I'm going to show you today, is how to make this basic chain. This is not stretchy, although I will have a stretchy version of this, but I just wanted to teach you the fundamentals of this weave so that you can get started learning to make chainmail. So if you're new to chainmail and you don't know how to do anything yet, the first weave that I would learn if I were you is the Shaggy Loop chain. This is absolutely the simplest chain that there is. I do have this in a stretchy form that you can use rubber to make that weave stretchy as well. But let's go ahead and start with an all metal one. I'm going to be using some pewter rings here instead of using jump rings. You could use all jump rings. If I were to use jump rings, I would be pre-closing these, and I would have these ones. I open these myself, so you'll prepare your jump rings by opening a bunch of them, and then you'll have some closed rings as well. The other thing I can do is I can start my first jump ring by attaching it to a paper clip, or in this case, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and just start it on its toggle clasp so that I can just go right into the weave. Okay, so I already have my jump ring open. So here's how we make a Shaggy Loop. I'm going to pick up one ring. That's going to go over on the right side. I'm going to pass through my end piece. That's just going to hold the whole chain in place, so I know that that's my starting end. And then I'm going to pick up the second ring. Okay? And then I'm just going to go ahead and close this ring. And I now have one row of Shaggy Loop complete. So hopefully you've watched my video on opening and closing jump rings, so you can do this part neatly and efficiently. Okay, so then jump ring number 2. Here's my next open jump ring. I'm just going to pick up a ring. Okay, then I'm going to pass through the previous jump ring that I placed on. Now when I do this, I'm going to make sure that there's one of my rings I put on the left and one on the right. Okay, and then I pick this one up and then I pass through, so that's going to make sure that one stays on the right and one stays on the left. Okay, and then I'm going to close that jump ring. Okay, and we're just going to keep going in this same way. I'm going to pick up an open jump ring, place one of my closed rings on it, pass through the previous jump ring, making sure I'm between the two rings that I put on the jump ring in the last step, pick up another closed ring, and close. Okay, so this is very simple. We're just going to keep going this same way. Open jump ring, pick up a ring, pass through the previous row, pick up another closed ring, and close. Okay, and that is all there is to a Shaggy Loop chain when you're using all metal with closed rings on the side. Just to mention, these are pewter jump rings. They're antique copper. The nice part about antique copper or antique bronze is it won't really change color over time. It'll stay stable. If you decide to use either silver or gold, I would recommend using a wax polish on it to prevent tarnishing. But this is all we're going to do. Now I'm going to pull out some other rings and just show you that we don't have to use that same exact ring, okay? We could use all different shapes. So, you know, dig into your beads and your pewter rings and stuff like that and see what kinds of things that you can make these simple little chains out of, because there's all sorts of ways to do this. Okay, so now you can see we've finished the length of this bracelet, and you see that the last jump ring has 2 closed rings on either side. And then the only difference in finishing it and starting it is just because we used a toggle clasp here. And so I'm going to use smaller jump rings to just leave a little extra room at the end for the toggle to be able to lay down flat so that it can fit through the ring on the other side. Okay, so I'll put 1 and then 1 more. Okay, see how that gives a little bit of room. Close that jump ring. Okay, and then we're all set. So see how a toggle just slides through there. Now with this particular one, we may not have needed those smaller ones on the end, but when you get into using a little bit chunkier rings, just good to keep that in mind, that you might need a little bit smaller on the end if you're using a toggle. But here is our quick and easy and simple Shaggy Loop chain. This is perfect beginner lesson number 1 if you've never done chainmail before. This will just allow you to practice opening and closing your jump rings, and you'll still be making a fantastic piece of jewelry. Thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to like this video and follow me on YouTube. And this and other supplies and tutorials are available at beadmastery.com.